Hey guys, this is John. I'm here with a special guest. As you can see, there's no Austin. We've got Eric from Pass It On Outdoor Mentors. We're going to be talking to him about his role at Pass It On Outdoor Mentors, what they do, how you could get involved if you want to. It's a great organization. You guys know we do a lot for it. Before we get to that, real quick, Walton's has their 13 days of Christmas sale going on right now. By the time this is released, I believe it'll be the 5th day, something around there. Keep an eye on our social media, keep an eye on your email, or just go to waltonsinc.com/sales to see what's on sale that day. Every day we're releasing new items, and then they are on sale all the way to the end of the sale, and that's going to be the 18th. So you should be listening to this about the 10th, so you should have 8 more days, and we're most likely going to be doing a live stream with me, and at least for part of it, Brett Walton will be there on the 17th. So check in for that. Okay. Eric.
Yes.
Tell us about what it is you do with Pass It On Outdoor Mentors.
All right. So I'm a program coordinator.
Okay.
My job is basically to find landowners and land, and then I'm supposed to find the mentors, and then I find the kids.
Okay.
So I'm kind of the guy putting the puzzle together and getting all the pieces together to, put on a good hunt. So
sure.
What I do is basically just I try to take all the planning out of it for the other people involved, so they just get to show up and hunt. So the mentors and the youth that hunt, they don't have to, be a part of all the logistics.
So you're doing the less fun stuff.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's rough.
But I do get to go on some of the hunts.
Okay.
So there is some fun parts too,
a little bit.
But yeah, for the most part, I'm doing all the logistics of making sure everybody has everything they need for the hunt, everything like that.
So what is that? A lot of calling on landowners, farmers, like saying, "Hey, can we use your land for this?"
Yeah. So we have quite a few dedicated landowners that we can always pretty much count on.
Mm-hmm.
We also work really well with the Department of Wildlife.
Okay.
So they have some ground that we put on a lot of hunts that is for youth and veterans only, and it's under kind of a reservation system.
Nice.
So we're able to kind of get in there, but we also get like special hunt permits and access through those programs as well. So we have quite a few different opportunities as far as private land and public land that we can kind of get some exclusivity.
Okay. I've heard, and I have no idea if this is true or not, the person who told me this, who works here, is absolutely full of it a lot of the time. There used to be, the Koch brothers owned a deer ranch in northeast Kansas. They sold it, and now the only people with access to it are Pass It On Outdoor Mentors and one other organization.
So the Koch brothers had grounded, I wouldn't call it northeast Kansas because it was kind of by the Eureka area.
Okay.
So they have.
I easily could have thrown that piece in.
So they had that ground out there. It was a Spring Creek Ranch, and it was recently sold. And we work really well with the ranch management, which is the Matador Cattle Company,
okay,
who kind of runs everything, the day-to-day operations out there. And we work with them to try to get some hunts going and get some opportunities for antlerless. And they have quite a few opportunities for antlerless. They called us one year and they said, make sure that the mentors bring a gun too, because they said they had a field with over 100 does just because it's so, they have some ground that nobody drives by, you can't access. So it's just nestled in there nicely. So
that's awesome. I got a chance to go out to the governor's hunt a couple of weeks ago. And I was walking around. We were on this family's land who they don't guide. They just do it for this one event every year. It's kind of highlight Colby, Kansas. And I'm from upstate New York. So I kind of grew up just outside of the mountains. Like the Adirondacks were a 40-minute drive away, and I was right deep into the Adirondacks. Flat is not really my preferred scenery. I like some mountains. I like at least some hills. So I've always been kind of down on the beauty of Kansas, let's say. But we were out there and way back in somebody's land, just dirt roads all around. You could see rolling hills. And I was like, all right, I get it. It is kind of pretty out here. So I'm starting to come around, but I need to get more out into the back plains of Kansas? I mean, you can't say back hills even.
Well, I grew up in the Flint Hills.
Okay.
So I'm kind of partial to the rolling hills of Flint Hills. I grew up in Council Grove.
Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar with the area. So it's south of Manhattan. It's 177 and Highway 56. They cross there in Council Grove. But we're smack dab in the Flint Hills, and it's hilly country. I mean, it's not like big giant hills, but there's some pretty good hills and rolling hills and a lot of valleys and a lot of really good hunting. That's kind of where I got into hunting. So
did you grew up hunting?
So I grew up hunting. Yeah, so I got my hunter education, I think, in like 3rd grade.
Okay.
When they allowed it, and I went hunting quite a bit with my older brother until the 5th grade. He passed away in the 5th grade, so I didn't really hunt a whole lot in between that time until I got into high school, and buddies of mine would go hunting, but were we really successful? Not at all. There was no success whatsoever.
Just getting out. Yeah.
Just getting out there, having fun. And it wasn't until I really got into college that I really got hardcore into it. I had a buddy who I started a group on Facebook with, Kansas Hunting and Fishing.
Yep.
And I met him at Independence Community College. We played football together, and he liked to hunt and I liked to hunt, and we just meshed up, and that's really how I got back into it hardcore. So
what do you like? Are you a bird, a deer?
So deer and turkey are my two favorite.
Okay.
Yep. So we have that in pretty plentiful on the ground that I have. So we go out in turkey season, and that's really one of my favorite times of the year is here in the woods. Wake up during turkey season. Gobbles just going down the tree line, basically almost like the wave at a sporting event. It just starts on one end and goes all the way down, and then comes back. It's but that's really my passion is the turkey and the deer. So
okay. So I know Pass It On Outdoor Mentors does deer. I've seen them do pheasant. Do they bring kids out turkey hunting?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So it's been a little harder these past couple of years because bird numbers have been kind of down.
Yeah.
From that's what I'm hearing from a lot of the people that we normally set hunts up with. They're I don't know if it's going to be a good year for that. Let's let them come back a little bit, and hopefully we can get some more hunts. But I mean, we're planning on doing at least 30 hunts this year. So
nice.
Just in turkey.
So getting this land set up for people, one of the things that I think is, I don't even know how unique it is, but one of the things that people have to get used to in Kansas, if they want to get into hunting, is you have to either know somebody, you have to know where the walk-in land is, or you have to get comfortable asking people, hey, can I hunt on your land? And that is a big change, especially for a bunch of this younger-ish generation.
Yeah.
I feel like, and this isn't even an insult, I feel like they don't know how to ask for things they want, but they expect that to be provided to them.
So like I said, I got the group on Facebook, and we see that a lot of people just trying to ask for everything versus going out to get it. Mm-hmm. We don't run into that as an organization a whole lot of, doors slammed in our face because we get landowners that start coming to us and they want to be a part of what we're doing. But in the most part, I mean, you're 100% right. It's land access is tough. A lot of these farmers are, rightly so, making a lot of money doing leases and stuff like that.
Yep.
Completely understandable why they would want to make money off their ground. So that kind of pushes out opportunities for other people. But there is quite a bit of great public ground here in the state of Kansas that doesn't get touched.
Yep.
I've got some weehaw next to the property that I hunt that I don't think I've ever seen a truck parked on. So it's like, there's places you just got to put in a little work. And a lot of people expect to go up to a door, ask them one time, and they say yes, and they get all the access that they ever wanted.
Forever. Right.
And, I remember a few years back where I threw bales of hay all day for a farmer just to get access to turkey hunt.
Yep.
And this was in my adult life. I was working at a car dealership, and one of the farmers had some great turkey ground. I said, hey, can I hunt? He's like, yeah, just come out and help me one day. And so I was like, okay, I'll come out. He's like, I'll need some help on Sunday or whatever. Can you come out? And I'm like, yeah. So I come out, and he's like, yeah, we're going to be putting up this hay all day. And he's getting free labor.
Right.
He is
taking advantage of it.
Yeah, he is driving me.
Of course.
I mean,
of course.
He's driving that tractor as fast as he can pull the trailer and getting because he had one of those loaders where the bales come up on the trailer. We got to throw them back on, and he was getting them. You guys are too slow. You can't keep up, And so, I mean, we're just having I'm there with one of his hired help that, and I'm throwing these up just to go hunt some turkeys. So, I mean, there's some work involved.
But so we've talked about in the past, and other people, this is not something unique to me. I always like the experiences I most remember are the ones that might not like be fun in the time.
Oh yeah.
Like it's the ones that are hard work, but you actually accomplish something that you're like, yep, that.
The only thing is, I didn't even get a turkey from that property that year. So.
That's not great. That's not great.
So
definitely,
he just got free labor, and I got to hunt like a few times, so it didn't work out as well.
So, do you have? I'm assuming at least that you've reached out like to individual landowners asking if. Do you have any tips for how people can go about that? Do you find just walking up and knocking, trying to find a phone number? What's the best way?
So for me, most of the ground I hunt is owned by family. So I'm very fortunate when it comes to that. A lot of my land, other than my family ground, has come from professional contacts. I sold cars for a number of years in Emporia.
Okay.
And I sold Fords. So I sold a lot of farmers, a lot of trucks. Yeah. And I've got some really cool farmers from back home that, I call them up. Hey, you mind if I go hunt that field? And they're like, yeah, go ahead. And so I've got some ground. For me, it's all about building relationships. I don't think you can ever expect anything from an individual without any sort of relationship that's established. So I think sometimes you'll get lucky and go knock on a door, but I think if you go there and offer them something more than just more than just hey, I'd be more than willing to help you out, do some chores around the farm, throw hay bales in the summer heat and get scratchy.
So you said a lot of people approach you from like wanting to work with Pass It On. Mm-hmm. How does that normally come about?
When we have a lot of social media presence that people are starting to see what we're doing and they think it's cool and they just want to be a part of it. Yeah. We have a lot of great landowners that we've met over the years that have just been people that shot me an email, shot me a message on Facebook or whatever it is, and said, "Hey, I've got some ground if you want to come bring some kids out to hunt on." A lot of other ground is through contacts that we have of our mentor volunteers that they talk to the landowners and get the permission. But I mean, for the most part, a lot of it's pretty organic as far as how it comes about. We go to a lot of meetings with a lot of different conservation groups and different groups like that. Yep. And when we're at these, we're talking to the people about what we're doing, and they're like, yeah, we could probably host some kids out here on, I've got some ground out here that we could probably host some kids. And it just kind of happens organically just through conversations. You start talking about taking kids hunting versus, wanting to go out there for more selfish reasons. Right. I don't know that I'm not going to call it selfish, I guess. But
it makes sense. I know what you're talking about.
But we're taking these kids and, it's not, hey, can I hunt? It's, hey, do you have some ground that I can take some kids hunting?
Right.
And I think that gets a lot more reception. I know some guys that have told me that they take their kids with them when they ask for permission, even if the kid's not hunting. But
it makes sense. I mean, at Walton's, we're lucky enough to work with a couple of really great organizations. Pass It On absolutely being near the top of that list. When people think about like the next generation of hunters, at least in this area, amongst the conservation groups, I would say your name is the one that comes up. Like, hey, they're raising the next generation of hunters. And beyond that, what I really like, I'm a huge 2A supporter. Obviously, that's not, that is clear. But some of these kids, this might be their first and last interaction with a firearm, depending on, how they feel about it.
Yeah.
You want to make that as positive an experience as possible, because even if they don't continue hunting, they're at least going to associate a firearm with a positive memory, as opposed to being,
Yeah, if we don't create a lifelong hunter, I think that we're creating enough positive experiences that we're not creating anti-hunters, and we're creating that's a big thing. There's the big R3 movement. I don't know if you've ever talked about it on your show, but in the hunting industry, there's a recruit, retain, and reactivate are the three R's of the R3.
Yep.
And that's what the conservation groups, that's what the industry leaders, they're all kind of pushing this R3. And so when we get to this R3, our two things that we were hoping to hit are the recruit and the retain. We want to get a kid that's never hunted. We want to get them an opportunity to hunt. That's recruit. Retain, we're giving them multiple opportunities. We don't want them to come on a deer hunt and never sign up with another hunt with us. We want them to go on a deer hunt. If they go on a deer hunt and they enjoy it, hey, we got a pheasant hunt coming up. Hey, we got a waterfowl hunt coming up. Whatever it may be, we want them to have those opportunities. And we're not going to turn you away even if you've been on a couple hunts with us, because we want you to become a hunter.
Yep.
So, but one kind of cool thing I guess we saw out of this is that third R that we didn't really think about being one of the R's that we would hit.
Right.
Yeah, the reactivation, because that's usually people that have not hunted in years and we're trying to get them back into the sport. But we found that when we take these kids hunting, a lot of times their parents are coming along on these hunts.
Yep.
And their parents are like, man, he really enjoyed that. I remember when I used to enjoy doing that as well. So it's kind of like, hey, maybe I can start hanging out with my kid again by going hunting. And we've seen a lot of that, which is just awesome to see. It's kind of a side effect of what we're doing.
Yep.
That wasn't a focus, but it ended up happening anyway. So it's kind of cool. But like you were saying, a lot of these kids, they may never go on another hunt, but we're going to make sure that we give them the opportunities to do that. But we do focus with a lot of kids that already have, you have to have hunter education.
Yep.
Is one of our main requirements.
Obviously.
So, but even with hunter education, they're saying that there's a large percentage of them that get the hunter ed and never hunt. So, we're hoping to change that.
So I don't know if you know this or not. Kansas is now one of 4 states, maybe 5 states, that accepts the NRA 100% online, no field day, no nothing. That does make it a lot easier. We utilized that ahead of the governor's hunt. We had somebody here who wanted to go. No way they would have had time to schedule everything, so they did it all online, and it's 100% fine in Kansas.
Yeah.
So really, really, I think that's a good thing. I think one of the things, being grown up sort of outside the industry, I did some hunting down in Texas in private land when I lived down there in like 2002 to 2004. But then when I moved away from there was no longer an option. So I was very much outside of the industry, and it seemed almost inaccessible. So I think getting kids while they're young, teaching them about it, and kind of showing them the path into the industry is really, really important.
Absolutely. I think we've got some kids that went from never hunting before and to where they're absolutely diehard about it, and it's pretty cool to see. I have a mentor down in Southeast Kansas. He took some kids from a trap team down there, and he took 3 kids, and after the hunt, they all exchanged numbers and whatnot, and the kids are like, hey, when can we go hunting again? And he would text me, hey, I'm going to be back home this weekend. Let's put together a hunt. So I'd plug in all the details, get it out to the kids, and then they go do another hunt, and they're like avid waterfowl. They started, he gave them some old decoys that he had that he wasn't going to use anymore, just to get them started. And, they started going on hunts themselves, just the 3 of them. So, we're very lucky that we have a lot of great volunteer mentors that really do help instill this passion in the kids. I don't think that we have had too many that come through and make it so a kid never wants to hunt again. We do post-hunt surveys, and so far this year we're at 100% of kids say they want to go again. So I feel pretty proud of that.
But what's not to like about it? You're in the outdoors. You're hoping to get a shot, literally, to use a skill that you've honed. You're getting hopefully a meal or many meals out of it. There really isn't a downside. one of the things that you guys do incredibly well, at least in my opinion, there 3 or 4 years ago, there was this huge backlash against grip and grins. Shoot a doll sheep, hold it by the horns. And, so there was, it seemed like every time I saw that on social media, a third of the posts, like the responses, were negative about hunting. That, you guys have done a very good job. I don't think any normal person is going to have that reaction to a kid, for one.
I mean, we've definitely had our share of
have you
of activists that have tried to comment on our stuff or review our page. And
what do you do?
Ignore them. I mean, they're in their own little world that they think everything should be rainbows and sunshine. But at the end of the day, I mean, hunting is as beautiful as you want to make it inside. I mean, but don't mistake it. There's death involved. I mean, there's an animal that's going to lose its life, and you have to be cognizant of both of those aspects. You take in the beauty of what's going on, and your interaction with nature, but you also have to realize, the end result of a successful harvest is a dead animal. So, but I guess people don't really separate it. I mean, I guess they'll kill the animals with their pesticides on their plants, but
sure. But let's eat all vegetables and kill hundreds of millions of moles, rabbits, all of that.
Living in the ground.
But how dare you shoot a deer?
Yeah.
It's like one animal versus hundreds. And this one animal is feeding, many people.
And many meals.
Many meals, yep.
But, they'll drive their highways in the summer with the headlights on and the bugs just smashing their windshield.
No problems there.
No problems there.
Yeah, consistency and logic is not a strong, at least in my opinion. Obviously, I'm biased.
Yeah.
But isn't a strong suit of that side of the argument. I personally feel like somebody who's being vegan for ethical reasons probably has a lot more in common with a hardcore hunter than they realize.
Oh, yeah.
They're both trying to select themselves out of the mainstream, like factory farming whole game. They went about it different ways.
Yeah.
So one's like, I'm not going to give up meat. I'm going to harvest this animal that obviously there are enough of for us to hunt. I mean, it's closely managed.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like I read something or heard something that there's more whitetail in the country now than when Columbus landed.
Yeah, it's due to conservation efforts that were funded by hunters. If you look at all the North American conservation model relies on dollars being spent on guns and ammunition and license sales. So without those things, we don't have conservation at all. Yep. And we don't have anybody to, I guess, monitor it as far as game wardens and such like that, because there's no money to pay for that.
Yep.
So that's what brought it back, was all these people being like, hey, these are on the brink of extinction, or they're going away.
Yep.
If we don't do something different, it's going to be bad.
And now we've got elk back in Kansas. There's some elk in Kentucky.
Yeah. Even Arkansas. Right?
Is there really?
Yeah, my sister's dating a guy that has a cabin down in Arkansas, and it's on this I don't remember what national forest or whatever, but they have elk that walk outside of their place there.
That's awesome.
That they were planted there not too long ago.
I've got a buddy who bought a cabin down there, and he's been wanting me to come. I mean, not that I would go more so for that, but elk are just one of those, elk and moose. Mm-hmm. For whatever reason, when I see them, I'm like, oh, you forget or can't really rationalize how big they are until you see them. And it's like, oh, you're not a deer. Yeah. You're something very, very different.
Yeah. So, I've never hunted elk. Most of my hunting has been in the state of Kansas, except for a little hog hunting down to Texas. So,
how'd that go?
Oh,
we'll get back to that.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I want to talk about that for sure.
But elk is definitely on my list of things I want to do. I bought a rifle with the intention of going elk hunting a few years back, and haven't gone yet. But
what'd you buy?
I bought a Tikka T3 Lite.
Okay.
But It's not a gun I like to shoot a whole lot because it's chambered in 300 Win Mag and it doesn't weigh very much at all. So all of that recoil
right into you.
Oh, I went to the range one day and I probably sent 80 rounds down range. Just I took it out to like 840 yards or whatever is the farthest they had at that range that day. So
that's pretty long.
Yeah, but my shoulder from here to right about here was just black and blue the next day because of all that recoil. And I had some scopes that I knocked the parallax out of when I put in a lead sled because all the recoil went into the scope at that point. Because I think the gun weighed like 4 pounds.
I mean, that's good if you're going deep into the backcountry. Yeah, for sure.
That's why I thought it would be. But I didn't. I knew it was going to kick, but like it kicks your butt.
What do you shoot for birds?
I've got a 12 gauge.
Is it a semi? Is it a?
So I've got an over under and a semi automatic. So I don't really do a whole lot of upland bird hunting though. I'd like to get more into it, but I've done some waterfowl and I've got a Benelli shotgun that I like to use for that. So
yeah, my over under is I have short arms. I'm not a tall person, so I've got a shorter barrel over under, super light. When we go sporting clay shooting, same thing.
Yep.
Black and blue from here to here every time because there is nothing. I mean, that is all coming right back in. And I'm still not good enough. Like, obviously, I know all the basics. The two things that always screw me up is initially, I will stop the barrel. Like every time. It's not till like the second station where I'm like, oh, you got to keep moving the barrel.
Yep.
And then because I have some neck things, I have to remember to put the butt higher up on my shoulder, which makes it even worse. Because now we've just got this one little point.
You don't have as much spread of
so it's not a painless experience.
So whenever I go out to, when we do our Bust a Clay event, that's a
best event in Kansas.
It's a lot of fun.
I look forward to that every year. Like I cannot explain.
Yeah. I shot my over under a couple years out there, and then I got this Benelli, and it's a semi-automatic.
Yeah.
So all the recoil, it's eating a lot of the recoil. It's not going into my shoulder as much. I may not look as fancy as some of the other guns out there.
That's why I got
it. It is a nice gun. It's a Benelli, by God. But
I know.
When you go out to the sporting clays type things and you see all these really, really nice over-unders, in my over-under, it's a nice one. It's not top of the line by any means, but it's a pretty good gun.
They have a different look, a different appeal to them. When I got my over-under, it was the first gun other than my handgun that I had owned in quite some time. I did not take into account the fact that when I brought it out into the field, I was going to be at a severe disadvantage and that recoil. To make matters worse, when we were up in Colby, they had this 3-gun raffle. You could buy raffles. Everybody entered. They'd draw a ticket. The first ticket got to pick between 3 guns. It was a really nice semi-automatic 12 gauge. It was a 410 youth gun, and it was a 22 Magnum Henry Golden Boy lever action. And I'd been wanting a lever action for a while. So I won the first ticket and I picked that Henry and I was all excited, and I still am, but I don't have land. I mean, and what are you really hunting with even a 22 mag?
Yeah.
You could probably shoot a coyote with it.
Yeah. I mean, there's quite a few opportunities with it, but
I'm not going to go after a deer with it.
No.
So
I wouldn't.
I should have gotten that semi-automatic shotgun. Looking back on things, but whatever. I'm sure I'll feel different once I get a chance to bring that out somewhere and do some plinking with it.
I know you're just going to find some dude ranch somewhere. Like, hey, you mind if I ride this horse and just shoot stuff off this lever?
I need a revolver too.
Yeah, you need a revolver too.
That would be tons of fun.
That cowboy shooting stuff. Have you ever seen that? They're riding horses and they got their 6 shooters shooting these little metal targets as they run their horses down the line.
All right. So that sounds absolutely amazing. Taylor, who's our shipping manager, we brought him, and he'd never gone hunting before. So he was the guy up in Colby. he was surprised by how much he liked it, even when we didn't see birds, because there is still something really fun about upland hunting, specifically watching the dogs work, walking through all the CRP. It's just, it is really fun. But we came up with an idea where we could kind of incorporate everything, but still make it, or kind of incorporate everything, but make it more, you're definitely going to get to shoot something.
Mm-hmm.
So you bury spring-loaded clays and you put like a scent on them so the dogs still go there. And then somebody's sitting back at the car and just like fireworks, they're firing them off. So you still get a chance to shoot at something.
Now, there is something like that with actual birds.
Oh, just planting the birds?
Yeah, they got bird launchers.
What?
That'll throw the birds up in the air.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you want to go all out, I mean, you go all out.
So we were up there and we talked to guys from Federal who'd been there the day before we got there, and we asked them, what's it like out there? And they're like, we shot one thing today because it's just so dry. And when it's dry, it's harder for the dogs to work. The birds are better at hiding and they run more. So we went the next morning and I was expecting to see very few birds the entire time we were up there. I was just prepared to have a good time, walk around and enjoy company, enjoy the dogs. We saw 8 pheasant on our first quarter and I think 2 quail. So we get to the end and I go to one of the guys. I'm like, how many of those were planted? And he just kind of smiled. He's like, oh, no, I don't know. Maybe some people were planting things here and there. I'm like, you planted all of those birds, didn't you? That definitely changes things a little bit. We went up to a place in South Dakota with the Ron Shera guys who we do a lot of advertising with. And we walked one that was obviously all planted. They fly different. It's not as much fun. For whatever reason. You get to shoot at a lot more things, but it's not as authentic an experience. Maybe that's the word I'm looking for.
And see, so with Outdoor Mentors, we've been doing a lot more of these preserve hunts.
Okay.
This past year, we've really loaded up on those. We don't present it as a wild bird hunt. We present it as what it is. It's a preserve hunt, but we found that it really does get these kids excited.
100%
about the upland. Now, I can see from as you get older and you have more experiences out in the field, how it could be a little bit different. But when you're getting these kids, I mean, attention spans of kids these days are terrible. I mean,
nothing.
If I didn't have it in my pocket and I wasn't on a podcast, I probably would have looked at my phone about 30 times.
So imagine how much worse it is for them.
Yeah, exactly. Right. They grew up with it in their hands.
Yeah.
So,
how old are you?
I'm 33. Yeah.
So did you have a screen in your face when you were a kid?
I mean,
so that makes you.
I was
the 90s.
Yeah.
Okay, so you had at least a somewhat normal.
I started off with I started off with the Atari at grandma's, and then the NES systems, and then you progress all the way up to the Xbox through Xbox 360 when I graduated high school, I think. So that's where we're at.
I fell off somewhere. One of the PlayStations. I was like, I don't have time for this anymore.
Well, I played a lot of football, and we played Madden all the time in the dorms in college.
That makes sense.
Yeah. That's about all I play anymore.
What'd you play? What position?
I played center.
Center?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, offensive line. I'm 6'3". I was probably about 320 at that time.
Oh, wow.
But I was in the best shape of my life.
Okay.
At 320. Now I've just recently started losing weight.
I was going to say, you don't look like you ever weighed 320.
Yeah. I weigh 243. Something like that is what I weighed today. I've lost 65 pounds in the last, since May.
So this is a weird tie-in. I used to date a girl, and Patrick's going to know where I'm going right away with this, who hated it when I would try to lose weight because her theory, and she firmly believed this, was that if somebody else lost weight, it didn't just go away. It like transferred to somebody else.
Interesting.
So anytime, like he's been losing weight for the last 2 years, he was a lot heavier when he started working here. And as he's lost weight, I've gone up in weight consistently.
That's how some Romans perceived souls. They called it nous. So they meant like once one person died, their soul went to a collective basket of souls.
Really?
And then once one person was born, they pluck that soul from said basket. So it just reminds me of the weight issue you're talking about now.
Interesting.
So my fat just went into some perpetual
Into the ether, and then it's going into
Getting
someone.
injected to somebody else.
Someone's gaining weight today. That's from you, maybe.
Yeah,
we don't
from
know.
me losing the weight. Yeah.
All right. So tell me about some of the difficulties the last 2 years has put on Pass It On Outdoor Mentors.
Well, we thought we'd have more difficulties.
Really?
But we had kind of a really, really great year last year. And we're having a great year this year, but I just know last year's numbers. I mean, we had 206 events and had 551 youth out. So,
wow.
And our fundraising was better than that. I think people were bored at home.
Yes.
So they were doing all the raffles that we were putting out, but we actually had a really, really great 2020. And, this year, one thing that we're kind of finding is we're seeing some, I wouldn't call it pushback, but we're seeing some competition for time because last year nobody had anything to do.
Anything else. Right.
So when we had a hunt, it gets snatched up like that.
Sure.
So we're having to work a little harder to fill some of these hunts that we're putting together. But, that's really the only effect is, since things are opening back up, it's a little tougher to find kids every time you have something going on. It can get a little tougher sometimes just because you're working through that. I mean, but when it comes down to as far as organizational, I mean, we've done great strides in the past couple of years. And I think COVID helped us last year because, like I said, a lot of these kids didn't have anything else to do. And here was an opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, there has been a record number of new hunters over the last 2 years. Part of that is definitely, hey, what else am I going to do? But absolutely, in my opinion, at least part of it was people saying, hey, I better start paying attention to where my food is coming from. Those stress tests of the food supply chain, my opinion, the food supply chain did unbelievable. I never went to the grocery store and couldn't find at least some of what I was looking for. And that easily could have gone another way. So the food supply chain did a great job, but it made people think for the first time, like, what would I do if the grocery store and the butcher shop no longer had that?
Absolutely.
And hunting is the natural response to that.
Yeah. Hunting and fishing have made incredible strides these past couple of years because we have all these new cohorts that were never really involved before. So, but now I guess the challenge is going to be as things start to normalize again, if they ever do. But how do we keep those cohorts involved? Because we need them to stay involved. And I think that's going to be a challenge that, departments of wildlife all over the country are going to have to scramble. Hey, how do we keep them engaged, coming back and keep them engaged?
But even if they don't, even if they do the pass it on and then age out of it or just naturally don't, I think you're right. I think the work of doing that is going to help prevent them becoming an anti-hunter, which is
just as powerful.
Really important.
Absolutely.
Really important. I have been saying for the last, I don't even know how long, as soon as COVID started and everybody went nuts running out buying new guns, I was like, well, that ends the 2A for the next, or argument for the next 60 years. Because you just got a bunch of 20-year-old kids buying a gun. Now they're going to realize, A, it's not a scary, like, it's just a tool. B, they are a ton of fun to go shoot and practice.
If you can find ammo.
If you can find ammo.
My shooting has gone down so much. I like most people, got that government gun money, and invested wisely. And I bought a Bergara.
Okay.
Got the B14 HMR. I got it chambered in 6.5 Creedmoor, the round that everybody likes to give crap to. But
so I have a 6.5 Creedmoor too. That right now, for whatever reason in Wichita, is the hardest round to find. Every time I go anywhere, they go, nope, we just sold our last box. Nope, I can't tell you how many times I've heard that.
Yep, it's pretty impossible to find. Luckily I had some, I had maybe a box at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
And I went to a training event for a youth hunt that we put on through Kansas Hunting and Fishing every year with a group called Match Grade Precision. And we went down to Conway Springs to this range out there and got them got the youth that was going on the hunt trained with these guys that are Army snipers. They're all
That's awesome.
Yeah. So this kid is shooting further than he ever shot. I mean, we had one kid one year shoot 840 yards. At a target or at a target.
Okay.
At a target. Yeah. We're training them to shoot these longer distances, and it's just amazing how these kids have never shot past 100 yards.
Right.
And now they're shooting 800 yards in one time. But, we definitely let them know the limitations of that round as well. You don't want to, I personally wouldn't take a shot much over, 300 yards at a deer.
Oh, with 6.5?
Oh, I could go further with a 6.5.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think my furthest shot with that gun is 300 yards. So
I know you've done the turkey. You brought kids out deer hunting as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What's the longest shot kids ever made?
Most of our hunts are set up for 100-yard shots.
Okay.
150 at max. And a lot of we have a lot of really good landowners that, hey, have them come out a little early if they want to sight their rifles in and double check everything. And,
awesome.
A lot of them have already sighted in rifles for the kids too. So,
so whose rifles are these kids using?
So when I put these hunts together, we have a registration page on there. I say, bring your own gun and ammo. If you don't have it, let me know.
Okay.
And, for the most part, I don't get much feedback as far as not having it. So I would say most of them bring their own stuff.
Oh, awesome.
But we do have some hunts where I've had a couple kids that didn't have a rifle. So we had to make sure, like I have a hunt coming up in January where it's just a single, there's a landowner that's bringing the kid and his mom out on a hunt, and they didn't have a gun. And so I talked to the landowner. He says, yeah, I have a gun they can use, but I'd really like them to come out before the hunt. So this kid's now getting invited to put some range time in with that gun that he's going to let him borrow for the hunt. So, we don't like there to be barriers for kids to get involved. Yeah. So we're going to do whatever we can do to, I've driven guns. I remember last year we had a hunt at that Spring Creek Ranch that we were talking about. And when we had the hunt out there, I got COVID that week, and I was supposed to be one of the mentors. So I had to cancel, but I was bringing a gun for another mentor. So I took my gun, I put it in the back of my truck. I put a can of Lysol next to it.
Spray it off and take it.
I said, hey, you can spray it if you want to. It's right there. I'm not getting out of the truck. The gun's back there. Grab it. We're good to go.
Yeah.
And so he took the gun, and they had a good hunt.
So you were able to drive with it. I assume it didn't hit you that hard.
I got the body aches and the headaches. That was my deal. And I lost my sense of taste and smell, which was
how long?
Oh, I'd say maybe like a week.
Okay,
week or two was about all I lost it for. I remember at the peak of it, your mind is pretty powerful. It could fill in the blanks a little bit. So if you have something that has such a unique texture, for instance, I got one of those like Uncrustables. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do know.
You're smiling, so you love them.
Well, because I had no idea what they were, and then Bert Kreisler is comedian.
I actually listened to the Two Bears One Cave too.
Talks that's about where I first heard about him.
So I was eating one of those, and my mind knows what that texture is, and it filled in the flavor profiles a little bit for me. But one thing I did was I tested with poured a little shot of whiskey out, and it was like water over the tongue.
Really? And then heat
in the chest.
Oh, that's interesting.
So I was like, I just wanted, it wasn't even good stuff. It was that stuff that comes in that paint thinner looking can. I can't even think of what it's called right now, but it's like a red can. I bought it because the can looked cool, and I was going to save the can. And so I poured out a little bit of that, some corn whiskey, 100%.
And no taste.
No taste whatsoever. It was like water. It was like cool water over the tongue because I had it in the freezer. So it was like cold water over the tongue. And
you've had it since then, since you got your taste back?
Oh, yeah. It's still awful. Yeah.
Okay, god awful. That's interesting. I same thing. I lost my taste for a couple of days, maybe a week. Patrick lost it for a long time, and my wife lost it for a very long time. While I didn't have taste for whatever reason, I ate more of stuff. And I think it was like my brain was like, hey, no, you should be experiencing this taste. Keep trying, keep trying, keep trying. So,
and it's textured stuff that I was eating when I was doing it. I was eating more like stuff that had a crunch to it,
Something.
or some sort of uniqueness to it as far as how the experience in your mouth. I get.
We have a word for that around here, don't we?
Yeah, we don't.
What's the word?
Well, palate appeal.
Palate appeal
has replaced the
mouthfeel.
Unsaid word mouth. I hate that term mouthfeel. I don't know why. All I see is a guy with a monocle and says it's the mouth feel
it's
of
the
it.
feel in the mouth.
It's terrible.
But
absolutely
no,
terrible.
when I had when I couldn't smell or taste anything, I loved it. I thought I could just eat whatever, and it did, like, you know how some people when they're healthy they view food as fuel. That was me. I go, I have to do this again to keep going. I would have cereal with water on it.
Oh.
I did not care. I'm going to go buy milk when I can't taste it. I loved it. It was the best. I didn't have to think twice about what I'm going to eat.
There was a guy that got TikTok famous because he was eating whatever they put in the comments. It was just.
I wouldn't do that, but yeah.
No, that sounds dangerous.
Yeah, well, it was all food,
like gross.
Mostly.
It's like gross combination. Probably
there's some cat. I think he ate some cat food or something like that. But it's fit for human consumption. They have to make it that way.
So we normally do this segment called Meat Matters, but we're already 50 minutes into it, so we're not going to cover that this time. But there is one thing I wanted to just briefly talk about, because somehow this trend passed me right by. People are letting meat, and it seems like beef is the most common one, but that's just from the pictures I've seen, spoil, like rot and ferment, and then eating it to get high. So no one else has heard about this. Okay. Obviously, I keep an eye out for weird meat news. Somehow this got by me. It's been big since like 2020. Don't ask me. And if you want to make it even weirder, they do not cook it before they eat it. Now, anyone who's listening, there are easier ways to get a buzz. Go buy some beer, do whatever you need to do. Don't do this. There's so many things that could go wrong, so many pathogens. I mean, just E. coli alone absolutely can ruin your day. Apparently, there's a big push in the paleo movement that, like, this is what our ancestors used to do. I want to remind everybody there was a huge difference between their gut biome and ours.
Yeah.
And there's a huge difference between chasing down an elk or a mastodon or whatever it was and buying a factory farmed cow that's 70% or 30% fat. So don't do this.
That's going to be how they try to ban meat. Kids are getting high off this stuff. We got to.
Where's my tinfoil hat? Write that one down. Write that one down.
They're turning the meat into drugs.
That's what it is.
they're after us.
I'm always open for a conspiracy theory. Always. Absolutely always. All right. A couple other things I wanted to talk about. You guys do the Gun of the Week raffle at Pass It On, which makes my Wednesdays a lot more fun because I just look forward to that email coming out all day. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So we draw a gun a week, 52 guns, and then we have a drawing amongst all the winners at the end of it for a special prize, and then there's a kind of a consolation drawing for anybody that didn't win. Mm-hmm. They're entered in that. But right now we actually have a sale going on. So if you buy tickets, you get extra tickets. You buy one ticket, I think you get another one. Don't quote me on that. I don't have
right
it in
now.
front of me.
Normally it is $25 for one ticket, and you get
one ticket for 50. Yep,
and you get 3 for 100. Right now, I think you're getting 3 for 50 and 5 for 100. I know the 5 for 100 is accurate because
it's 2 for 50.
2 for 50.
Yep.
Okay,
but we have this 5 days of Christmas that we're doing as well with it. So if you're buying them right now before the 20th,
19th.
Before the 19th.
It says in the email.
Okay. Before the 19th, the 20th is the first day we're drawing. That's why I got mixed up. So if you get in now, there's quite a few different prizes. We got a crossbow. We've got some different packages.
Oh, wait, there's extra things I get with those tickets? Because I just bought tickets.
So we're going to draw 5. We're going to draw 5 days in a row for these extra prizes that are on this Christmas deal. So it's kind of our 5 days of Christmas giveaway, but it's attached to the raffle type of deal.
I'm terrible at reading all the information in an email apparently. Because all I got from that was I get some extra tickets.
Yeah, I skim most of everything I read.
I did too.
You know, and if I want to, get into a novel, I listen to it.
I used to read like maybe not multiple books a week, but I would average about a book a week from the time I was a little kid until like 27. Then I started Audible. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm never reading again.
Yeah.
Just walking my dogs, listening to a book. It's amazing.
Oh, like Steve Rinella. Like when I listened to him
all the
on the American Buffalo.
Okay. Yeah.
That's such a interesting topic. Yep. And it may not have been as interesting if Steven Rinella wasn't the one reading it to me. But I mean, it's just kind of crazy that it's so much easier just to do that versus anything else.
I think that's another big reason why we're seeing hunting kind of on the rise again, is we have these younger, really great ambassadors for the sport. Absolutely Rinella, whether you like him or not, Joe Rogan, and Cameron Haynes. All those guys are really doing a good job of being ambassadors. And of course there's more. But.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, when it comes to the industry, are getting tired of the commercial part of it. I mean, there's so many hunting shows now that just look like an infomercial at the end of the, like did I get any actual good content out of that, or do I need to just go buy something?
One of the first meat eaters I ever watched on Netflix was they didn't get anything. Mm-hmm. Like they did not. Yeah. And I was like, what is this? But they were talking about like real subjects. He was talking about his dad. It was just incredibly
the way he's
engrossing.
Able to connect things,
Yeah, he's an interesting dude.
Oh,
he's got a lot going on up in that head.
If there was some sort of symposium where he's going around the country and talking for a couple hours, I'd just go to listen, just because his storytelling is
top
good.
Notch.
Yeah.
The first time I ever saw him, though, because I would listen to his podcast, I heard him on Rogan a few times. First time I saw him, I'm like, that's my mental picture of you is completely different. That was one of the biggest, like, no, you don't sound at all like what you look like to me. But I have a weird thing with that. I refuse to listen to my own voice on recordings or anything because I do not sound like I sound. All right. So give us a couple of things. I'm assuming you're always in the need of new mentors or more mentors.
Absolutely. So and on our website, outdoormentors.org, there's a link that says sign up to hunt with us. And if you click on that, it'll have even for youth. So if you have a youth that's between the ages of 11 and 18 that has their hunter education and they want to get out on different hunting opportunities, they can sign up there. And when we have hunts available, they'll get an email about it when there's something in their area. But there's also a sign up for mentors on there as well. And when we have these mentors, we do run everybody through a background check. So, and there's never a one-on-one situation either. We make sure that if it's like a deer hunt, that the parent comes along. Just liability issues and all that, making everything as perfectly safe as possible. But we definitely need more of that. And then, landowners, we have a lot of great landowners and a lot of great people that we work with, but we could always use a few more, as we grow and scale this operation. We hope to really, get more kids out, and to get more kids out, you're going to have more places to go.
Yep.
And, you can't overuse a resource either to where, it gets to the point it's overhunted or you're bugging the guy too much and they're like, we might pull back a little bit. So like I said, I used to sell cars and I used to have to be that guy. So I try not to be that guy anymore.
Yeah. I get that. Definitely get that.
But it's a lot of fun, but we definitely need more. And we're a group with, we have 4 employees now. We have one up in a part-time in Iowa.
Yep.
So there's, in the state of Kansas, or if we go back to last year's numbers, there was 3.
Right.
It was me, Mike, and Brittany. And when you look at the 3 of us putting on 206 events and 551,
that's insane.
We cannot do that by ourselves. We are super grateful that we have enough mentors and enough people out there that really believe in what we're doing and our mission, that they're stepping up and helping us forward that mission. And, when you look at 3 people putting on that many type of things, it's just impossible. I didn't even get to go on maybe even a quarter of the hunts that I put together.
So how many I assume Brittany does more of just the shooting, right? She's involved in more getting the kids into trap shooting.
So no, she's kind of the director over this program. It's a shooting sports outreach program.
Okay.
So while we are connected with these shooting sports teams, our focus is getting them out hunting,
getting them into. Okay.
So we're not on the shooting sports side of things. It's just an easily identifiable group.
That makes sense.
So it's kind of like a low hanging fruit where it's like, hey, these kids have guns. They have hunter ed because you have to have hunter education to shoot in the high school clay target league.
Yep.
And a lot of them probably want to get outdoors already if they're not already doing it. They want to get outdoors. So it's kind of an easy transition to get them from the trap field to the hunting field. Yeah. But we're not exclusive on that. If there's a kid out there that has hunter education, wants to hunt, we're going to find an opportunity for them. It's just that we focus on the shooting sports kids as a easily identifiable target that we can go and find these kids. We can talk to the coaches. They have 10, 12 kids in that area, and they're spread out over the state, from east to west. I think there was 1,800 kids shooting trap at the state shoot here in Wichita last year. So
that's great.
Yeah. So you have a pool of 1,800 kids, but trying to find kids for each hunt. I got a hunt down here in southeast Kansas. Let's call the coach.
Drive down, or
let's call the coach that's at this place that's 20 miles away.
So how many hunts did you get to go out on? Sorry, my initial question with that was, you guys are the organizers. Are you also a mentor?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So how I got involved with Outdoor Mentors originally was, I was putting on youth hunts through Kansas Hunting and Fishing group on Facebook. And when we were doing those hunts, we didn't have all the insurance protection. So I actually reached out to the group and said, hey, can anybody help me start a 501c3? And then Mike reached out to me and said, hey, why don't you kind of become a chapter of Outdoor Mentors and continue doing what you're doing, because it's mission oriented to what we want to do. And so I actually got involved I got a little brother through Big Brothers and Big Sisters that I'm still connected with. He moved away, but I still get him out on a few hunts every year.
Cool.
So, that's how I got involved with Outdoor Mentor side of things, and mentoring was through the Big Brothers, Big Sisters. We were already doing the hunts, but that was more of a one-time deal versus, the long-term mentoring. And when it comes to how many hunts I do every year, oh man, I don't know. I really, maybe 10 to 15.
That's not bad.
But
and how many of those are with a kid?
Oh,
all of them now?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. When I'm doing the mentoring stuff, I'll always, if I'm going on a hunt, I'm going to try to be involved in the actual taking a kid hunting. But for me, I mean, weekends are rough. I got a 7-year-old at home and a newborn. So
congratulations.
Thank you. Just born in September. So September 1, when seasons were opening, that's when my son made his way into the world. So, but yeah, so I can't commit to every weekend, but I try to get out there as much as possible on hunts, that are, kind of close by or whatever. And, like I said, I was supposed to mentor that hunt last year when I got COVID, and
not much you can do about that.
Yeah, not much I can do about that. That kind of stunk, but anyways.
All right. So Mike was on the podcast twice very early on. The first time he owns the only record, or the record of the only person who's ever, or has come the closest to make me cry on the podcast. He told me the hamburger helper story. And luckily it was right before the 30-minute break. We used to have to take a break at 30 minutes to let the camera cool down. Because that's a very touching story. Very touching story.
Yeah.
Do you have anything that can approach that? I know that's a very high bar to set. Okay.
I don't have anything that hits that quite as well. One of my favorite hunts would have been in 2020 when we did our deer hunt. Young man named Harry. We took him out on a deer hunt, and I think we did maybe 2 or 3 sits, and then maybe the second or third sit, I can't remember which it was, but he was able to harvest his deer, and he started crying immediately with, had all these happy emotions because he's been wanting to kill a deer for a long time. He'd been hunting with his dad, just never had an opportunity. He had a perfect opportunity on this buck. He starts crying and he, hugs his dad, and then he turns to me and he goes, "Thank you so much." And I'm like, but I don't have anything quite as touching as the hammer. That to me was like pinnacle. And I got that all on film. That was pretty cool to, I got the shot of the deer, and then I turned the camera in, and his face was just like cry. I'm like, stop.
Yeah.
Stupid allergies.
With a lot of new hunters, I think people are going to have to, some people who haven't thought about it in the past, what you were saying before, death is a part of this.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what you're killing, whether it's a quail, pheasant, those are definitely easier.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reason, the larger you get, it seems like the more emotional toll it takes.
Yeah, for sure.
But something people are going to have to face up to if they want to get into this sport.
Yeah. I mean, I think my wife is a kind of a perfect example of that. She loved hunting, and she went on a sandhill crane hunt, and she had a blast with that.
Yeah.
And it really does taste like I don't know how that happens, but
so
it really
good.
does taste like a
ribeye
beef steak.
Yep.
I mean, it's so good. But when it came to deer and even a hog, I mean, she got very emotional about that.
Yeah, sorry. Continue, but we have to visit your Texas hog story.
So,
but continue where you're going. Sorry.
So, I mean,
didn't want to lose it.
Me personally, I've never really had that big emotional fallout. I get excited.
Mm-hmm.
I get shakes still.
Jazzed up.
Where you're sitting there. Even when I shot my doe this year with my bow, I was standing in my tree stand and I couldn't stand still. You could hear the metal rattling on the tree stand because I was just shaking. So I had to sit down, catch my composure.
Right.
And then, but I've never been like that emotional person, I guess, but I do get excited about it. But anyways, you want to talk
Texas.
Texas hog hunt. So I go down to a place called Wild Turkey Ranch. We've gone down there plenty of times. I've even taken a group of kids down there.
Really?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. So
do you worry at all about that? I mean, they can charge. They can get
we're in blinds. I mean, we're in tower stands. Every time I've seen a hog when I'm on foot, they run away.
Okay.
They scatter.
Sure.
But we go down to that ranch, and it's a lot of fun. It's more of a hog shoot than a hog hunt because we're sitting in these tower stands 100 yards from corn, and it's just a fun time to get away. But we've taken a couple kids down there with their dads, and got them involved, and it was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Did you harvest them at all?
Yeah. I think I've killed a hog every time but one time going down there. I think I've been down there 5 or 6 times.
What do you think of the meat?
So it doesn't taste bad. It's not fatty at all. It's basically like, I mean, it tastes like pork, but without that fat.
Yeah,
I guess. It's just
pork fat is the best fat out there.
No, without a doubt.
Creamy. It's white. It's perfect for sausage. These lack that totally. I was talking to somebody 2 weeks ago, who was saying they wanted, somebody had requested bacon from their wild hog. He's like, there's no bacon.
No.
Like, there's no belly on this thing.
Even your big hogs.
Yeah.
No, they're
still all muscle.
It's just all muscle.
It's insane. So what's the biggest you got?
Shoot, I think it was like maybe 225.
That's still big.
Yeah, it was maybe 200. I don't remember what
right
it was,
in that range though. Yeah,
somewhere in that range. But I actually got that one. That was my biggest hog, and it actually had the visible cutters. And so I actually took that to a taxidermist, but I dome shot that one.
Okay.
And it's pretty cool to see on a European mount. Like, it's just a big giant gaping hole right behind the eye socket.
Yeah. What'd you shoot it with?
My 6.5.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've talked about it probably, maybe not too much, but a lot. I mean, they are destroying Texas, Arkansas, Oklahoma.
And then you got dummies here in Kansas. They're like, I wish we had hogs to hunt
no,
up.
you don't.
No,
you
stop
don't.
it.
You absolutely do not wish that.
I don't mind driving 7 hours to go hunt hogs.
They are a scourge.
Oh, they're awful. And even so, this area, they have it done up for hog hunting, but it's just absolutely a disaster.
Yep.
I mean, walking through those fields that they have on this ground, it's like, are you going to break your ankle or
they root through everything. I mean, billions of dollars of damage in the agriculture industry.
Oh yeah,
every year.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. I'm glad that we have a pretty good handle on them here in Kansas. There's pockets of them,
but it's not.
But it's not overrun. And if there is a big enough pocket, they take care of it. They do the helicopters, and that's about the best way to eradicate them. But
so we've tried to think of like ways to go after that, try to stop them spreading. One of the things that was brought up at some point was like a bounty on them. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if you're familiar with cobras, the Cobra Bounty in India back in colonial times. So the British, when they got there, just hated, obviously, the cobras. They're not used to them. Mm-hmm. So they started a bounty on any cobras. They'd bring cobras and they'd pay them for it. But what they found the people were doing was breeding the cobras, making the problem much, much worse.
Well, that's what's going on in Texas and Oklahoma too.
Yes,
I mean,
it's not 1-to-1, but it has similarities to it. So
yeah, I mean, when you get to these, ranches and stuff that they trap hogs on the outside of their area and bring them back to where their hunters are.
So there's a certain amount of validity to that, though. They are trapping wild hogs and then it's high fence.
Yeah.
I'm assuming. Okay. So
it's kind of,
they're not breeding them.
They're not breeding them, right. But they're definitely making more. Yeah.
Sure.
They're definitely making more. And you get that with, where they, farmers are like, man, these hogs are tearing up my ground. Hey, can I hunt them? No.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like, what are you doing to alleviate the situation? But a lot of people are just worried about the liability, I think
makes sense.
But
last thing, in the last year or so, a couple of mountain lions have made their way through Kansas. Mm-hmm. Have you ever done anything with mountain lion?
Mountain lion? No.
Hunting? Okay.
No.
So we have a guy we advertise with we talk to from time to time, Nick from Nick's Wild Ride, Nick Hoffman.
Yep.
And he swears, and I think Ranella actually said it too recently, says mountain lion is the best meat.
I've not heard that. I've heard bobcat was pretty good.
Really? I guess kind of the same thing?
Yeah. I've never heard about mountain lion meat being good.
But it's two different people I've heard. Oh God. The next time Nick makes his way through here, he's promised us that he will bring some. Yeah. I cannot wait to try it.
I don't think there's much meat that I wouldn't try.
I'm trying to think of something that I wouldn't eat. I've eaten anything you can imagine out of the sea.
Have you tried coyote? Would you try coyote?
No, that's a good one. I probably wouldn't eat that.
See, I've heard people make jerky out of it, and it's like not awful from what I've heard, but like, I don't know.
I'd be so worried about parasites, like even with proper handling.
Yeah.
So one of the things people worry about botulism and E. coli, they can create spores that are then going to be heat resistant beyond anything you're cooking your meat to. Mm-hmm. So while you can cook it, thermal process it, it's still possible to get sick off game meat.
No.
So, All right. Is there anything else you want to talk about? I know we're getting a little long in the tooth here.
No, I just appreciate you having us on, and I really appreciate the recent donation from Walton's that we just got. That was awesome. It's incredible. Going to help us a lot get more kids outdoors. So we really appreciate your guys' support over the years and continue to have that. So
once again, your mission makes it really easy to support you guys. Plus, Brittany is awesome. We've met a few times now. But Mike is just such a good person.
Yeah.
Like, how can you not try to help that guy do something amazing?
Yeah.
So
I'm pretty fortunate. I've got one of the best jobs I could possibly have, working for a nonprofit, getting kids outdoors. It doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah. It makes all the difference liking what you do.
Yeah.
So the difference between how people like us get out of bed and people who dread their jobs, night and day.
Well, I've dreaded jobs before.
So have I. So have I. All right. Thanks a lot, Eric.
Thank you.
All right. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. Visit waltonsinc.com, meatgistics.com to find everything but the meat. What am I forgetting, Patrick?
I think that's it. We just plug away at the end there.
I nailed it all in one go.
See you later, guys.
All right. We'll see you next time, guys.
Thanks for checking out the Meatgistics podcast. To shop everything but the meat, head on over to waltonsinc.com. And to get your meat processing questions answered by experts and enthusiasts alike, head on over to our online community at meatgistics.com. Walton's, everything but the meat.